What up, guys? Welcome to the New American Dream Podcast. I'm your host, George Gibson. All right, we got a great show today. But before we get into the show, I just want to take the time to say this guest he was premiered on MSNBC not too long ago, and that's where I seen him at. I reached out to him because I could tell he really was a true person who knew his moneyology. That's what he called it, moneyology. And I was interested in how did he manage to live on such a small amount. The title of the episode was "Living Off $25,000 a Year in Baltimore." You got to check out MSNBC. But before we get into the episode, we talked a lot about budgeting, not living paycheck to paycheck. And one of the things I thought about in this episode is when I was a work student in college, and I worked with accountants who made on average about $40,000 to $50,000 a year. And they used to complain about going out and having lunch money. $40,000 to $50,000 a year. And mind you, I was making $400 every 2 weeks, and I had no bills. So what I'm trying to say about that is I literally made $400 every 2 weeks. They made $50,000 a year, and I had more money than them. I felt like I made more money than them because I didn't have any bills. So my $400 was debt free. I just had to take care of myself, go to the clubs, $400. But a person making $50,000 a year, and they don't have a $400 buffer where they can just throw that money away. And I realized I was making more money than them, and I'm only making $400 every 2 weeks. So manage your money. Even though you're making a lot of money, and the older you get, the more money you make. So you have to learn to not increase your spending or your expenses just as much as you're making, because then even though you're making $50,000 a year, you're spending $48,000 a year, you ain't saving nothing. All right. So we finna get in this episode. Listen, it's a great episode. It's a little over an hour long. Like, we had some great times. He actually started flipping the script on me. He asked me my own questions. He asked me, I asked the question everybody know, if you could spend a day with somebody, who would it be? He flipped it on me. I wasn't prepared for that, but check it out, the end of the show, and listen who I say I would spend a day with. I thought I'm on the fly, and that's what I went with. But yeah, with enough being said, all right, let's get into this episode. Welcome to the show, Jerone Gillespie. Let's go. Alrighty, welcome to the show, Jerone Gillespie.
Hey, welcome. Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, man. It's been great. I seen your video on World Star on CNBC. I said, man, you got a superstar right here. And the headline was, he lives off $25,000 a year. And I'm like, how does a man live off $25,000 a year? So I'm glad you came on the show. But just give the people, just tell the people who you are and what you do.
So I'm Jerone. On social media, I more so go by blackvito. And basically, as of right now, most of what I do is I do Uber and Lyft. I do taxes. And also I'm working on a YouTube channel. And also I think they didn't mention this in the article or whatever, but I also help my father with his business, mostly doing the bookkeeping and taxes and some of the paperwork related to the finances.
Right. Okay. Yes. So when he say related to the article, most recently, that's where I seen him at, was on the CNBC show, and the headline was guys live off $25,000 a year in Baltimore or Maryland. Which one was
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
it? It said the title. What I seen was a guy live off $25,000 a year in, was it Baltimore or Maryland? Where you at?
Yeah, well, Baltimore County. I said Baltimore in the video. I said Baltimore, right. But that's just, I was trying to avoid people knowing exactly where I live. Because if you see the video and you know the exact town, it's pretty easy to find me. So I was just kind of like, how about we be somewhat private?
Oh, okay.
They put the address. They put the town I live in anyway, which is Cockeysville. So it doesn't matter anymore anyway because it's out there. Yeah. But yeah.
I shared your story to a couple of my friends, right? And they were like, man, they told all the man information. I'm about to got $13,000 in this and this and that. But it was it was great, you know what I mean, for people to see from like exactly how you were doing it, you know?
Yeah. when people were saying that it was inspirational, I never thought that people would say that. Now, I mean, I was reading some of the World Star comments, and some of them were not particularly nice. And I mean, but that was more in line with what I thought people would say.
Right.
But on the CNBC YouTube comments, it was just like so many people saying so many nice things. And I was not expecting that. I kind of figured that it would be more like bad publicity, but I figured bad publicity is good publicity,
Right.
But it was people saying so many nice things, and it surprised me.
Right. All right. So let's start from the beginning. I heard you say you helped your dad out with his business. So let's tell us, how did you grow up and where did you grow up at? Like, far as, were you middle class, rich, poor? Like, just let the people know how you grew up.
Yeah. So where we grew up, it's kind of hard to say. We grew up in a low cost area, so but it was predominantly white. So we lived in a small, predominantly white town, and I would say that we were middle class, but most people say they're middle class, even rich people. So I would say we were like middle class, lower middle class, somewhere in that range. Um, just to give you an idea, we qualify for free and reduced lunch. So I don't know if that helps people get an idea. I'm not sure if that's just in Maryland, how that works, or that's across the country or not.
No, yeah, that's everywhere.
That's everywhere. Okay,
Yeah.
so that kind of gives you an idea of the income range. So yeah, I grew up in a very small, predominantly white, as I said in the video, very, very racist town. But for the most part, it was a cool place to live. As far as with people that we met, friends, not necessarily the racist people, but the friends
Right.
that we met there, so to speak. Like one of my best friends I met there, and he's white, but
Right.
so it wasn't all bad, but it was definitely a lot of. I could tell you guys some stories, and y'all probably wouldn't even believe it. Some of the things that happened there, but anyway.
Right.
So,
so your parents, what did your parents do? Like you say, your dad. What kind of business your dad have?
So growing up, my dad was a truck driver. He had a business at some point when I was growing up, but he didn't have the business the entire time we were growing up. But he did have a business at some point. And my mom worked with people with mental disabilities. So my mom worked with people with mental disabilities, and then my dad was a truck driver, and so he was over the road truck driver. So he was out there for a long periods of time, just working Monday
Right.
through Friday, 18 hours. My mom would do a lot of overtime. She was a hard worker as well. She worked the night shift a lot of the times when we were growing up. So she was a hard worker. So I mean, growing up, we got to see them work hard, but financial situation wasn't phenomenal. But like I said, we were the middle class.
Right. So where did you get like this entrepreneur spirit from? Was it just, watching your dad work a lot, being on the road, or like where did you get this entrepreneur spirit?
No, because I didn't really understand what entrepreneurship or running your own business was back then. So I didn't really understand the difference between him working a job or him working for someone else or having a business. So I don't think I really completely understood that back then. But so I think that literally since I can remember, I've just been very tight with my money. I just had some desire to not spend money. I don't know, maybe it was watching Mr. Krabs growing up on SpongeBob. I always say that might be a factor.
Right.
I mean, maybe seeing my parents have to work so hard for money and worry about bills to some degree, maybe that played a factor. But for the most part, I don't know where it came from. I don't see it in any of my other siblings, at least, well, not really at all. But so I don't know where it came from. It's just I'm extremely frugal, and I've been that way since I was a little kid, since I can remember elementary school.
How many siblings you have?
The ones I grew up with, two.
Good. And would they consider you, like a lot of times when people say you don't like to spend money a lot, they'll call you cheap. So would your friends and family considers you the cheap person?
Yeah, I got called cheap and somewhat criticized for my my lack of spending habit.
Right.
So yeah, people call me cheap and stingy with my money and stuff like that. But
Right.
at some point when you're a little kid, when not even a little kid, when you're younger, it does bother you. But I've learned to kind of take it as a compliment, because if I'm stingy with my money, then that means I'm probably not giving my money to just large millionaires and billionaires who are already rich. I'm kind of building my own wealth instead of giving it to them.
Right. Okay. All right. So you grow up, you get to high school. like all of us, we got to go to college. That what you did next?
Yeah, I went to college. But I mean, like I said in the CNBC article, when I was in high school, when I was in middle school, I got diagnosed with a heart condition. So the doctor said if you do vigorous exercises, if you work out too hard, you could, the way he put it was you could vomit, pass out, and die.
Jeez.
So yeah, so I was like, all right. So I was a little bit sad, a little bit down for a few days, but then I just decided, you know what, I'm going to live my life the way I want to. But I just kept working out the way I wanted to, and I just figured that I would probably never make it out of high school. And I never really told my family that until probably recently. I don't think I told any of my family that, or like some of my family, like parents, or that since like maybe until that video came out. I don't know.
Wow.
But yeah, so I didn't really think I would make it out of high school. So I didn't really think about what I wanted to do outside of high school. And people always say, well, what if you die tomorrow? Why are you saving all this money? You could die tomorrow. That me knowing that I could die at any moment never stopped me from being frugal. In fact, if anything, it made me more frugal just because I enjoyed the stress relief of having money. I know I can go to the store if I want it, I can go buy it, but I don't want to buy it. I just rather have money. So yeah, so going as far as college is concerned, I digress a little bit, but going as far as college is concerned, I never really thought about it. But when it came down to college, the problem for me wasn't that I didn't know what I wanted to do. It was that I wanted to do too many things, if that makes sense. It's not that I just didn't know, and I just knew that I love science,
Right.
I love language, and I loved business and money related things. So I was like, I obviously can't do all of these things. And I started doing like our process of elimination and all of that. You know, I'm not gonna do physics because I'm terrible at math, and physics is basically math with a little bit of science in there. And
Right.
then, chemistry, I was like, I don't want to do chemistry. So I chose biology. And then also language, I've been a big fan of language. I learned Spanish in middle school. By the time I was in college, I was fluent.
Wow.
So I didn't want to major in that because there's not a lot of, I didn't feel that there would be a lot of money in there. But I
Right.
definitely um, did some studying in that. I did a lot of college courses in that, but I was already fluent before I started taking the college courses. And then also business, I didn't really know if I wanted to do business or not. As far as that is concerned, I did go to Costa Rica for a bit, and I took some business courses when I was in Costa Rica and studying Spanish. And when I was there, I was just trying to figure out this myself a lot of, practicing Spanish, obviously, but I wanted to figure out about myself.
Right.
So when I was out there and I was taking business courses, I was trying to decide if I want to do this or if I want to do like molecular biology. And what I decided was I was going to probably do molecular biology. So I started doing that. But then once I realized when I went back to, United States, there was just so many requirements that I would have had to take because it would have took me so many years to graduate. And then after I would have graduated, I've already had I would have probably have to go get a master's degree because
Right.
if you're a science major, you're pretty much almost have to get a master's degree. You don't have to, but most do.
Right.
So that would have been more debt. So I decided to switch it up. And like in the video, it said that I switched to Spanish. Well, it kind of skipped over most of what I just said there because
Right.
I kind of said that when in the recording, but they skipped over it. But so yeah, eventually I just decided to do Spanish, but I was like, Spanish is not going to get me where I'm going. And then also the courses were just dreadful. After like the intermediate level courses, you're not even learning Spanish or like learning how to speak Spanish anymore. You're just like reading archaic books that have little value to me. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I
Wow.
wanted to really focus on what I wanted to do in life. And
So, what was your GPA on average in college?
I can't remember, honestly. I think it was like three. I think it was between 3 and 3.5.
Oh.
Up until I really decided that I wasn't really down with it. But so what happened was, as far as that's concerned, like there were 2 semesters while I was in college where I got straight A's. So let's say, for example, the first 2 semesters when I was in college, I did okay, whatever. First semester, I was partying a lot, like most freshmen. I
Right.
was partying and falling asleep in my economics class, ironically enough. And and then after that, I really felt like I didn't really like the people I was dealing with after the semester, first semester of college. second semester of college, I just was like, I'm just gonna stick to myself and do my own thing. So that semester I got straight A's, and that's just because I was just focusing on school, going to class looking like a bum, not worried about clothes, not worried about well, you know what I'm saying, not
Yeah,
worried
yeah,
about
yeah.
so
Yeah,
all of that. So
yeah.
I was just doing that and just focusing, and then I got straight A's, and I was like, that kind of was like a high for me. I was like, I want to get straight A's as much as time as I can. So
Right.
then after that, I went to Costa Rica the next semester. I came back, I got straight A's again, and then after that, I started working while I was in college. And then my grades started to slip, so I wasn't doing as well. And then I was taking all science classes after a while, like just nothing but science courses. And most science majors don't do that. They kind of take some of the lower level classes mixed in with their science courses. So my teachers were like, I don't know how you're doing this, but probably
So,
shouldn't be doing it.
right, just from listening to you say that, I can already tell, like, probably it wasn't challenging enough for you because you can just turn on like that and make straight A's. Like, you just can't be an average person, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of difficult. So that means you're at least above average. That sounds like a genius almost because you just like, all right, I'm gonna focus and you get straight A's. But most on if you listen to Dave, you listen to Dave Ramsey, right? And
Yeah.
on their on his podcast, the average millionaires GPA are between like a 2.5 and a 3.0 because like they care, but not enough to care that much, you know?
Yeah.
What it seemed like.
I mean, when I was just focusing straight on school, I was getting straight A's. But when I would start to work, like work and go to college, my grades would drop. And I'm not gonna even lie about that.
Right.
And also when I was taking like nothing but science courses, and then also with science courses in college, you have to take labs. So you're really taking more than if you take 4 science courses, you're really taking like 8 courses in a way because you're taking 4 science classes and then you have to do a lab with each one of them. So you're really, and then you're kind of like getting a separate grade for that that mixes in with your grade with the main class.
Right.
So you're in a weird way taking like 8 classes at once.
Jeez.
And so I'm going to be completely honest with you. My grades weren't as good with that, but before I was taking multiple science classes at the same time, um, my GPA was probably close to like a 3.5. That was brought down by my first semester at college where I was just doing complete
Party.
nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
All right. So what all right, after college, did you have a mind shift like to make, okay, let me figure out how to make this money? Like what turned on for you? What made it click?
let me think about that. So, like I said, I've always been I remember in elementary school, believe it or not, I remember in elementary school, I would always have these dreams of having a huge, endlessly bound vault filled with cash. And that sounds weird. And it also might sound a little bit greedy. And some people don't like it. Like, oh, he wants to be rich. That's bad. That's bad.
Right.
But as a little kid, that's kind of what I would think about, like just having like this huge, a whole bunch of money. I didn't realize that money is kind of like one of the worst assets you can have because it goes down in value. But either way, I was just like, all right, I really wanted to have a lot of money. So I've always been kind of about having a lot of money. But one of the things that happened throughout college was during the summer times, I would stack up about $4,000 in savings. And then college would come around, and for somehow, some way, slowly but surely, it would just eat away my savings.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
the same thing would happen again, stack up a few thousands of dollars, and then my savings would go away. When I was in high school, same thing. Well, not the same thing in high school, but my high school, I stacked up I stacked about $4,000, and I used 2,000 of it to buy a car, my first car, and I had that car for about 4 years. So it wasn't just like be throwing away money. I needed a car because
Right.
my college was going to be 3.5 hours away from where I lived. So
Right.
I felt like I needed the car, and also I kind of wanted to see my girlfriend at the time. So I was like, "Hey, let me get a car so we can make sure we stay in touch, and you don't go
Right.
sleep without me." No, but she, I mean, so I bought the car, and then I still had $2,000 left over. But then that just slowly started eating away, and then also going to Costa Rica.
Right.
Let's be honest, that took away some of my savings as well. But that I wouldn't trade the Costa Rica trip for the world. That taught me so much about myself that the value in that is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. The
Right.
value in Costa Rica, and
So
so
let me say, you going off to Costa Rica, I mean, I feel like everybody should do that. I don't even think I did that. Go somewhere where you didn't have no family there, right? No friends. And
Yeah, yeah.
tell me, like, you in Costa Rica, no family, no friends. What did you took away? What did you learn about yourself? What's like something you learned that you can't like you couldn't get anywhere else?
So first off, that is a good point. Like I feel like everyone should do that, like you said. And as far as what I learned about myself, I mean, it's just so hard to. I would have to really sit down and think about it because there's so many different things. One thing I learned is that like a lot of the times, people, including myself, thought I was shy. So I decided, I need to practice my language skills so I have a motivation outside of just, being social to actually go out there and speak to people. So I'm working on my Spanish. So what I decided to do was I'm going to really just work on my extroversion skills, my ability to just walk up to anyone and just start up a conversation. And that's what I would do. Now, when I was in college, like I said, before I went to Costa Rica, I was just by myself. No one would believe that I was this person who could just walk up to anyone and talk to them because I would just be very, very quiet to myself and just working, trying to get those straight A's. So I went to Costa Rica. I said, let me switch it up. No one knows me here. So no one knows that, oh, I'm this introverted individual that really doesn't like to talk to people, not willing to walk up to strangers and have a conversation with them. By the time I left there, no one that I met when I was there, none of the people believed that I was an introvert. Nobody. They couldn't fathom it.
Wow.
Now, if I was to go back to my college, no one could fathom that I was this extreme extrovert. So what I found, and I wasn't not being myself. That's the key thing there. I was just showing this other side of me. Like I can do this. I can be this person that can go out there and communicate. So that kind of taught me the confidence, so to speak, that I can talk to anybody, talk to any people, men, women, whoever it is I want to talk to. I can go out there and have a conversation with them. And that really, it taught me that I have that in me.
Right.
And so, I mean, there's so many other things that it taught me as well. It taught me about what I want to do in life, or at least what I don't want to do in life. It taught me about poverty. Like people think that, when I say that, when people say that I'm broke, I'm like, all right, so you need go to a country, go to a foreign country that is like below United States as far as the standard of living,
Right.
and go to some of the worst areas because I mean I did some risky things when I was in Costa Rica. Like I went to like some of the hoods in Costa Rica, which is not I don't recommend doing that, but I did
Right.
it. And if you just go to some of those areas, and then also when I went to Panama when I was in Costa Rica, and there was also some like really rough areas there, and what you see is like, oh, okay, so I'm actually compared to these people, I am absolutely phenomenally wealthy compared to these people.
Right. Right.
So I just feel like that taught me about really appreciating what you have more than anything. Like, so that was a big factor of what I learned there. Those two main things is that the confidence that I have it in me to do things that I thought I wasn't capable of, like walking up to strangers and sparking up a wonderful conversation with them, and also doing the same thing as far as appreciation with about everything that we have in life and all of that.
Right. Okay. That was awesome. Because a lot of people, everybody want to always be with somebody they know, so you feel more comfort. But
Yeah.
even what you just said, like my mom, she always said, George, you never even read a book in school. I never read books in school because I had to read books that I wasn't interested in. But once I finished school and I figured out what I like, I started reading books about what I like. So then all of a sudden she know me, oh, George don't read books. All of a sudden he's reading all these books. And it was only because first I had time to be by myself. I was a mailman. I quit last year. But I was in
Mhm.
the mail truck, and you're in the mail truck for so long, you start thinking and just listening to podcasts and reading books. And I discovered I like to read, but one thing I did learn too is I couldn't comprehend what I was reading. So like here in Florida, we got state tests. I failed the reading state test, but I learned by listening. See, I'm doing a podcast, I'm listening to what you're saying. But if
Yeah.
I was to read what you're saying right now and you try to come back and tell me to, say what you said, it'd be difficult. But as far as listening, I learned by listening. So people, like even you being an extrovert in a whole nother world and an introvert in this world, that just goes to show like your people got a wide range, which they might not never untap unless they go, cross the boundaries.
That's very true. And that, I mean, what you just said about yourself, like it was the same way with me. I hated reading, and my brother was a big reader. He got me into reading, but I wasn't into reading books I didn't care about. So I just, once he said, we'll start reading some books, bro. And I just started reading a bunch of science books. I wasn't reading too much money books, honestly, but I would just read like physics books and quantum. I like to read quantum physics books because that stuff just kind of like, I love that. So I just started reading books like that, and I just started to fall in love with it. And also like philosophical books, like self-development, language books, stuff like that. And I just fell in love with it the same way you did. I mean, and as far as you said, listening to books, I mean, listening like podcasts and learning that way, I think that's perfectly fine. Like most of the books I read in a year is audiobooks. You know what I'm saying? Like on the way to my here, where I'm at my mom's house right now, I had to pick up some of my YouTube equipment. Um, and you know, most of the books I read is through audiobooks. And when I was on the way here, I was listening to an audiobook. So I think that
Okay.
that's perfectly fine.
All right. So I know the people listening, they want to get into how to get wealthy. So, all right, let's do it. What do you think is one of the big things that hold people back from attaining wealth, especially in our community? Like, what's something people do that like set us back instead of moving us forward?
I think generally speaking, and this might sound cliche, but I think it's the mindset a lot of the times. I just like I had the opportunity. I don't even know I should be talking about this publicly, but I had the opportunity, like I said in the video, to sleep on sleep on my brother's couch, and eventually my mom bought us a couch bed. So I had a year of like very low expenses. I only had to spend money on the internet and the electricity, like the utilities. So I only had to spend on that, and so that means I was able to save a bunch of money up. Well, I had another one of my comrades, and he had the same opportunity that we gave him. Me and one of my other dudes had the same opportunity to give him, to sleep on the couch and the couch bed, the same couch bed I was sleeping on,
Right.
and he didn't take advantage of it the same way. Now, at that time period in which he was staying with us, he could have saved $10,000, $20,000 the same way I did, but he didn't.
Right.
And I don't want to talk about him badly, but I'm just saying that the difference was the mindset towards money, and and that is so key. If you don't have the mindset like I'm going to do this and I can do this, it doesn't really matter how much money you're making. You're gonna First off, you're not gonna feel like it's enough, and you're gonna feel like, all right, well, you're gonna overcompensate with the fact that you're not wealthy by trying to buy a bunch of different things to make yourself look wealthy, and then you're not gonna be wealthy. But you might look like it, but you're not going to be it. So you really have to change the mindset. And then that's the number one thing. None of it matters if you don't have the right mindset. You're
All
not
right.
going to do it.
All right. So let's give people a really good example. All right. What's the first thing you do? All right. It's Friday. Jerome come in. Boom. I gave him a $1,500 paycheck. What's the first thing you finna do?
$1,500 paycheck. All right. So first off, I'm gonna look at it in my bank account, and I'm gonna see how much money is my bank account currently. If I have enough to where as though it could cover my bills, yet say for example, my average monthly bills are $1,100. Just throw that number out there.
Right.
If I have $1,100 in my bank account, then I'm just going to move all of that money to a savings account. Unless there's an investment that I'm wanting to make,
Wait, you gonna move
then
the whole 1,500 to your bank account?
yeah, a high interest savings account. All the
Okay.
high interest savings accounts right now are not very high interest, but relatively speaking, they're high. But I will move it to a high interest savings account like Ally Bank, and just let it sit there until I have a place where I can allocate it intelligently. So and that's what I would do. And then that's assuming that I already have enough money in my bank account to cover my monthly expenses, or at least my monthly bills. I mean, my monthly expenses, I'll just let it eat away at the cash that's in my bank account. But yeah, as
So,
long as my monthly bills are there, I would just move it to a high interest savings account or investment account.
so you don't think every time you get a paycheck, it's always one or two or three items that you need to go buy or order immediately every time you get paid?
No, because usually I have money in my bank account already. So if I really needed it, I would just buy it right then and there. So I don't have to wait for a paycheck to buy anything because I have the money. Yeah, I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say that. That sounds a little arrogant. I
No,
don't know.
that's not living paycheck to paycheck. That what you're not living paycheck to paycheck. Basically, what you're saying though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I guess that's what it is. Like that would be like living paycheck to paycheck. If as soon as you get the money, it goes right out the door. Yeah, and that's living paycheck, and that is stressful to me. Like I don't know, people say, "All right, well, I want to live my life. I want to have a good time." Well, I mean, I understand that, and I get that, but for me, having a good time is not stressing over. All right, I need to get this paycheck. I need to get this paycheck. It's just so much stress relief by not having this paycheck. I mean, not having this paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. It's just so much less stress to me, and that less stress is worth more than having a good time on Friday or buying the next Jordans or buying a car that is 100% of my income, like a $20,000 vehicle. When I make if you make $20,000, you go out there and buy a $20,000 vehicle. What are you doing?
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. All right. So right now, are you still working? So right now you do Uber and Lyft, correct?
Yeah, I'm doing Uber and Lyft right now.
All right. So basically, right now you're still trading time for money, but
Yeah, for the most part.
for the most part. But I can already see in the real near future, it's gonna be a lot different. You're not gonna be trading time for money, and that's one of the things I think people who work jobs, especially if you got a passion or a goal and it's not at your job, you got to get out of thinking, okay, like I was at the post office, everybody work overtime. You working overtime, you like, okay, I work this overtime, I get this amount of money. We got to think, what's my value? So now I'm a realtor or I buy properties. So I look at money way different from when I was working because now I can talk to you for an hour and make $150 just for giving you knowledge,
Yeah.
And it's like I was making $20 an hour and I thought I was balling. $20 an hour, I'm great.
Yeah.
But now that I don't work no more, if I actually calculate how much time I spend doing stuff, all right, the main difference is though, you might only work 6 hours a week, but you got paid $500 for each hour or something.
Yeah, that's very true. No, I agree 100%. I mean, that's one of my main goals. People ask me, "Where's my career goal?" I'm like, you're not gonna understand my career goal. Like most people won't understand my career goal when I say it to them. I'm like, I want my passive or investment income to be able to cover the lifestyle that I want to live and still be able to save 50% of my income. That's my career goal. So how I get there, we can get into that, but that's my career goal. And so, like you said, I want to reach a point where I'm not trading so much time for money. Now I'm not trading all of my time for money because I do make money through securities, but I mean, it's not a significant amount.
Right.
So yeah. And then also I make some money with affiliate links on my YouTube channel as well.
Okay. So, all right. And that's all right. 3 ways we're taught. First, you got to learn how to make money. That's key 1. Second, you got to learn how to save money. That's step 2. That was like me. I was making money, saving money. But in order to become a millionaire, you can't save to become a millionaire. The third is the hardest part is, which I tell people all the time. If I give you say I was to give you $100,000, maybe not you, but the average person, $100,000 and say, bring me back $100,001 next year. 1 year from today, it'll be so hard to do. You smiling like, man, I'll bring you back $200,000.
No, I'm smiling because I like what you're saying. It's very, very true. What you're saying is like it's so true. And I'm just thinking about in my head situations that I've seen like that. But yeah, yeah, that is very true. You give the average person $100,000, $200,000, $1 million, they'll be poor within the next 5 years, almost for sure.
Or just bring $1 back more than what I gave them a year from now. We're not taught how to invest. That's the hardest part, to make your money grow without working, because you can go to your job, but okay, what happened when the tire busts in your car, and you gotta get that fixed? Oh, let me dip on this, 100,000. After a while, it's down to 90,000. So you know what I mean? And that's what we taught, to save money.
But see, that's the thing with me. I was just all about saving money. If I would have told the elementary school kid me like someone told Warren Buffett, and when he was, I don't know, 6 years old about investing, right? He fell in love with it. I mean, if someone would have told little kid me that same thing, that same opportunity, I know I would have fell in love with it, because that's just how I was obsessed with money. If someone would explain the logic behind investing versus just saving money, I would have been investing like crazy. So a lot of the times it comes down to acquiring knowledge. But like you said, when it comes down to like building wealth, or building wealth, I like to break it up in three categories: acquiring it, and then you accumulate it, which means you don't spend it, you save it, and then you allocate it, which means you invest it. And like I said, that's like the three A's of wealth building: acquiring it, accumulating it, and allocating it. And a lot of people are not very good at any of these three. So I'm very bad at acquiring it.
Right.
I'm very good at accumulating it, and allocating it. I could use work, but I'm probably better than the average person. But the average person, is not hard. But acquiring it is probably one of the most important things.
That's the cash flow, right? The everyday cash flow.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some things right now you're thinking about as far as everyday cash flow? Because stocks, like it's two main ways to wealth. Two or three. Either you start a business, you invest in stocks, or you invest in real estate. Them three, like the three main things to building wealth. What are some of your, besides real estate and stocks, what are your things for, like, especially for people in the age bracket 25, 20, ways to bring in cash flow? What are some of the things you think as far as people can do?
As far as people in general, or what I'm planning to do?
Well, let's go. What's your plan? Like, as far as generate cash flow, like the acquiring part. That's the main important part, because you can't invest if you don't got it, correct?
Yeah, that is true. So one thing that I've been thinking more about is, well, I had a meeting before the CNBC video was released, and I had a meeting with the company that I work for.
Right.
And we were kind of having a little butting head a little bit. And I was thinking, one of the guys, the manager above me, he was just saying, like, all right, well, we're going to put you in this new office, and it's going to be like running your own business. It's going to be exactly like running your own business. And I was like, all right, so if this is going to be like running my own business, why don't I just run my own business? You know what I'm saying? So I was just thinking that I will probably end up, unless they pay me more money, I will probably end up moving towards doing more taxes on my own. And I think that my client base, if I did actually try to go out there and get some clients, would grow more rapidly, and I would be able to make more money, at least during the tax season for that. I mean, if you get really big, you got some solid clients over time, you can make a lot of money in that 3-4 month period during tax season, equivalent to what some people make in, throughout the year.
Correct.
So that's one thing that I'm considering. Well, not considering, but I'm going to work towards. As far as real estate, I know you say nothing about real estate, but I do want to get into real estate. I just wanted to say that, like, I already try to get into real estate, but
I got a house for you, man. I got a house for you. It's going up for sale this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
the main thing is having the capital to get the real estate. I mean, that was the hardest part. Like, I had a house, and I could have afforded the payments, but the way I do my taxes, it makes it seem like my income is less than what it is. I do it all legally, for the record, if the IRS is watching, but I make it seem less than what it is. So when someone asks for your 1040s, your tax returns, it's like, all right, well, you're not making any, like, you're making almost no money. And I'm like, yes, I'm making almost no money, but I'm actually am. It's just that the way I'm doing my taxes. So I was trying to buy a house, or at least, get a mortgage for a house in my old town. The houses there are not very expensive.
Right.
Like, you could get a fairly nice house for like $150,000. The house I was looking at was only $120,000. I was going to try to get it for $100,000.
Right.
It sold for $100,000. I never was able to get it. But so I mean, that's a big thing for me. I do want to get into real estate as far as.
But as
far as my business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's just YouTube is a big avenue. I know people say, "Oh, well, that's just a pipe dream." I guess we'll see.
No, that's a real dream, man. But no, what you said, you're talking about the real estate. Oh yeah, the part where you made it look like, well, you didn't make it. The way you do the taxes, I'm pretty sure Trump do it the same way. He make a lot of money, but you also got a lot of expenses. So in real estate, just for people who got your own business and you're a tax person doing your taxes, yeah, you want to pay the least amount of taxes you can, but at the same time, if it makes you look like you're not making any money when you go to get that mortgage, the bank gonna say, oh, well, you only made $10,000 this year. How can you afford to buy a house? So it's like a catch-22. So people, you have to. It's real estate it's like multiple layers, and that's like a high layer where you made money, but you made it look like you did it, and then like you can't buy a house.
That is true. And so, I mean, for me, I knew that it would take me some time to build up enough money to where as though I felt comfortable with buying a house anyway. Because I know they say, oh, well, you don't need a lot of cash to buy real estate. I just want to have a little bit of padded protection. I don't know. Maybe it's just over prudence, but I wanted to have a little bit. So I was figured, how about I just get my tax liability down, and focus on that, focus on making my income look bigger later. So one of the things that reason why I learned taxes is not necessarily even to do taxes for other people. Like you just said, people kept saying Trump pays nothing in taxes. And instead of sitting around complaining about it, like everyone else, I was thinking like, well, not everyone else, but like a lot of the people around me, I was like, instead of complaining about, oh, well, he is not paying anything in taxes, I was like, I wonder how he's doing that. I wonder if I can do that. And then I would say that to people, and they're like, oh, no, you can't do that. Only billionaires and wealthy people can do that. I looked into it. I learned everything I could. I read thousands of page books on tax law. And between you and me, legally speaking, I have not paid anything in taxes, in federal income taxes, at least, from 2018 and 2019. Those were the years that I was like really, really working.
Right.
So that $25,000 that I made, I wasn't paying anything taxes on that legally. I want to make that very clear, IRS. Anyway,
right.
So that $25,000, if you want to look at the equivalent of that, the equivalent would be, roughly $35,000 to $30,000 of taxed income. If you consider, especially that I was working as a self-employed individual, is probably the equivalent of about $35,000.
Right. Okay. So all right, this is a fan question, not a fan question, but a guest. Somebody who's seen your video asked this question, right? How can you make $15 an hour and you only make $25,000 a year? I guess they're saying that if you make $15 an hour, that's more than $25,000 a year.
Yes, I saw a comment like that on WorldStar. I think I responded to it. I don't know. I did respond to I responded to like 20 comments on WorldStar, but then I stopped because I had some others to do. But yeah, so tax season is only, so they were probably extrapolating that out for the entire year. And tax season is only 4 months out the year. So that kind of explains that to some degree. And so $14, $14.5.
Oh, I get it. So you only work 4 months for the taxes, really?
Yeah, 4 months just doing the taxes. And it's a seasonal job.
Right.
So another thing I saw a lot of people say, kind of connected to that, is I had 3 jobs. I don't know where people was getting this 3 jobs thing from. I didn't understand that. I don't know how they were doing that math, but I have one job, which is the tax season job. But let's say, for example, I'm doing Uber and Lyft. So that's what they're counting that as 2 jobs. But you can't do those things at the same time. And then it's kind of like the same job. It's kind of like, I don't know, if you are a tax preparer and you have 2 customers, you don't count that as having 2 jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My 2 customers are in theory, Lyft and Uber. Those are my 2 customers, right? So to speak. I'm working through them. I mean, I'm contracted with them, so to speak. So that's really one job. That's one revenue source as far as I'm concerned. When someone says how many revenue sources you have, I don't say I have 3, because Uber and Lyft, you literally can't do them at the same time. I mean, I can jump back and forth between the apps, but I got to turn one app off when I'm working on the other app. Right. So it's not exactly the same as having 3 jobs.
Okay, got it. All right. So what are some? All right, you say you want to invest in real estate. What are some investments people can do if, say, they got $10,000 saved up? and they want to invest that money, where should they put that money if they're not ready to maybe buy a property or something like that?
Hmm. Yeah. So that question really depends on where that person is at as far as in their stage of financial education. Because if you don't know anything, and I see this a lot, this is what I'm saying this,
Right.
but if you have really no financial education and then you start just throwing your money into stocks, I mean, you might make money, but over the long term, that's a terrible strategy. And you're probably going to greatly underperform the market. I mean, you might get lucky, put $10,000 in Tesla stock and it goes up a lot. I mean, but I just think that for the average person, that's bad advice. So I would say if you are not financially educated, I would use that money to either cover your expenses while you spend your time educating yourself, or just use that money to educate yourself, like buy books or audiobooks or whatever the case, or maybe courses. Some people do courses. I prefer books and audiobooks. Go to your local library. I mean, I know they're closed right now during the
Right.
pandemic. I mean, go to your local library. There's tons of financial books on there. You can get financially educated. Learn first before you go out there and start trying to invest your money, because I just think that it's a terrible idea. I mean, I spent hours and hours of researching investments and researching money related things as far as investing before I started putting my money in the market or before I do whatever. But if you have a business idea that you can start for $10,000 and you already have an understanding of the economics of that type of business, it probably would be better. You're almost always, if you have a successful business, you're gonna probably almost always do better in that than having a successful uh, stock purchase. Or so I would say that having your own business is probably better than having your own stock. Obviously, there's in some ways more risk in that, but risk reward situation.
Right. Okay. What I was
I'm
gonna
not
say?
sure if I answered your question or not.
No, you definitely did. I was gonna say, how is there anything since your show aired on CNBC? Is there anything that you learned or got some good advice from anybody that reached out? Like something that you like, oh, I learned something from this being out, you know?
Yeah, I've learned a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. Like I've received hundreds of comments, DMs, stuff like that. I even received phone calls from I received a phone call from like someone at CNBC. I guess someone that works there, they had access to my information. They gave me a phone call, which you're not supposed to do, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, they did it. And so I've received a lot of phone calls. I've even had people who didn't like me, not until recently, and hit me up and say, "Hey, you know, good job," or something like that. So for me, it's just I've had a lot of people hitting me up. So a lot of people are giving me great advice. Some of it is great advice, but I'm not going to follow it. But I think the thing that I learned from the situation, there's so many things I learned, but I think that time, valuing time is really one of the biggest things. Because I was just like, you might always wonder about like why celebrities might not ever hit back their fans or never talk to their fans or anything like that. I just like I started to understand that it was like because they have so many people coming at them. I mean, I'm nobody, and I have all these people coming. Imagine being like someone like Drake or Kevin Hart or something like that. So at that point, you really have to be very conscious about who you are willing to give your time to, because your time, like you said, your time is worth more than. Oh, you didn't say this exactly, but your time is worth more than the money. So you don't want to be trading your time to people just because they're saying nice things to you.
Right.
So I had to learn, like I'm having to learn at this moment, how to not only value my time more, but value other people's time more. Like I just got before I made this phone call, I was on another phone call with like another interview type of thing situation, and the people I felt like were just really wasting my time, and it's just like it almost left a nasty taste in my mouth. So I was like, all right, so I don't want to do this to other people.
Right.
Someone who else is really, really busy, successful person, I realized you have to value their time in order for them to really value, your time.
Your time.
Yeah. So it's just like, that's one of the biggest things I learned is if you're going to, like for you, for example, I'm trying to make sure I'm saying the right things and, not talking too much and not rambling on so I don't waste your time. And because obviously you had me on, so you value my time to some degree. So I just feel like I want to make sure I value people's time and they value mine. That's probably the biggest thing I learned from this.
Definitely, man. That was a lot. All right, we're gonna wrap it up, man, with a few questions I always ask people at the end of the show. All right, if you could spend one day with a mentor, who would it be?
Oh, that's easy. Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Yeah.
That's easy. That's easy. I mean, I was supposed to go to the Berkshire Hathaway meeting this year, but yeah, I mean, you know what happened with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
What about you?
If I could spend one day with a person, nobody ever asked me this on my own podcast. You stumped me right there. Oh, who would I hang with? I got one day. Dang, that's tough.
See, it is a tough question.
That is a tough question. I only get one. Jay-Z.
Jay-Z?
Because you know why? He don't say nothing. So if I get time to be with him, I'm going to pick his brain. I'm like, tell me what you don't want to say to the whole world, you know?
Yeah, he's a good option. He's a really good option.
And
like,
nobody
I feel like he's so smart.
But like I think Young Thug said that. Like when he be with Jay-Z, he was like, man, Jay, why don't you just come out and tell the people how we need to make money, man? Just tell us, man. Or tell me and I'll tell them. You know, it's like he know, but like you said, it's like he only can say so much, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you was in his house with him, you probably leave like, oh man, I'm finna take over the world. That's how I feel.
I would imagine it would not only be inspirational, but just like extremely informational. So yeah, that's actually a really good option. That's a really good.
Yeah. All right.
You just tell from his raps that he's knowledgeable.
Right. Yeah. That's my favorite rapper to do it. I actually had to think about that. I didn't know who I was gonna say. But yeah, it would probably be if I could choose anybody, I'd chill with Jay-Z. But what's a book that impacted your life?
Oh, that's also easy. Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was the one that introduced me into financial education. I'm frugal. I like saving money. That's not financial education. Rich Dad Poor Dad taught me what financial education is, the concept of not trading your time for money. I'm still working on that, obviously, but he taught me that. That was back in 2017. So I was new to the subject, so I'm still working on it. Right. But Rich Dad Poor Dad is a phenomenal book. Also, The Richest Man in Babylon, another one that I recommend to people. And this is also another really big, important one. And this is one I just read recently, is the book called The Power of Habit. I think it's by like Charles or something like that. I can't remember his last name. But The Power of Habit.
The Power of Habit?
Yes, that is a phenomenal.
I never heard of that one, so I definitely got to check it out. The Power of Habit.
Yes, that is a phenomenal book. As far as like really, ever since I've read that book, I've been like probably 2 to 5 times as more self-disciplined as I was before. I'm a lot more self-disciplined because I'm implementing the things in that book, and it's just phenomenal book.
All right, before I get to the next question, I gotta ask this. I don't want to, but how did your job respond to the people to your episode airing? How did they respond to that? Because when I was at the post office, you know, I was there 5 years, but if you ever looked at the mailman, most of them been there like 20 years plus. So my thing was, I kept telling them, I'm not staying here forever. You know what I mean? I'm be here for a short period, and then I'm doing my own thing. But nobody believed it. It was like, man, you're gonna be here when my grandchildren get here, you know? So yeah. how did your job take it, your coworkers, like as far as your show airing?
Well, right about now I'm just doing Uber and Lyft, so I don't have coworkers.
Oh,
but
okay.
I mean, when I'm doing my tax job, they haven't reached out to me. They haven't said anything about it yet. I don't even know if they've seen it. But I think the manager above me, he knows how I am. I mean, he was the one that you have to take a course to get licensed to get your taxes done. He was the one that trained me, so we would have a lot of conversations. He knows how I am. He knows that I plan to work for myself. I'm not about to be working for someone else for the rest of my life. He already knows that. he already knows that. I'm sure he already knows that I'm willing and able to walk away at any moment I so choose. So I mean, I don't know how he would have felt. I don't know how they would have felt about it, but I don't think I said anything bad about them on the job, other than they don't pay me a lot of money.
Nah, you didn't say anything bad. I don't think it was just sometimes when your success is coming, some people are happy for you. You know what I mean? And some people are like, why him? Like, what's Jerome doing? He only made 25,000. Why they talking about him? You know?
I had a few people say that, mostly on World Star comments though. It was like most of the 99% of the comment. I mean, 99% of the bad things people have said I've saw on World Star. But I mean that place is not the most positive place in the world anyway. So,
Right.
but
And how did the video get on Wordstar? Did you submit it or what happened?
no, I was reading through the comments on YouTube, just responding to a lot of them as much as I could. And I just saw someone said, someone put it on World Star. And I was like, what? And then I looked at the World Star thing. I was like, oh, this is doing better than the CNBC video right now. I was like, okay. And then I saw with the person, I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I kind of just like moved on from that. But I was like, all right, that's cool. And then I went back and it was like at 100,000 views. I was like, oh, that's big.
Yeah, it's big, man. Trust me, that's huge, man. You got big things coming. So, what's your goal next 5-7 years? I always say, like, all right, we in 2020. So 5 years from this airing, where's your goal? Where you want to be at? If you're lazy, it's gonna take 7. But if you keep going how you're going, it'll take 5 years.
My 5 years. Well, 5 years, I definitely would like to have this channel generating enough to where it could be full time. My YouTube channel, I would definitely want that to be a thing. And I'm pretty close to monetization right now, and ever since the video dropped, so that's within the realm of possibilities. Also, I would like to have at least in 5 years. I think it's not an unrealistic goal to have $500,000 in assets. That's not net worth, for the record. I said assets. So that's kind of where I would like to be in 5 years, as far as just kind of like financial goals. That's a big goal, but I feel like it's possible. I mean, million would be better, obviously,
All right.
but I might say million in my head, but then say $500,000 in public, just to.
Nah, you know why? Because you don't want people to call you crazy.
Yeah. So I like to publicly have my ambition be a little bit lower than what it is in real life.
Right.
I'm in my head.
In your head,
so,
yeah.
But yeah, so I have that goal. Those are the two main goals. Honestly, and this is not something I do with the intent of becoming famous or anything. I do like to make music, and my dad keeps telling me, bro, you got to make music. Well, not bro, but son, you got to make music. Son, you got to make music. So I've been doing that a little bit more, but I want to make it very clear, I'm not trying to become a singer or a rapper or anything. He keeps telling me to make more music, so I want to do that. So I think that would be a little fun project, but I guess that's not really a career goal. That's more of a hobby that my dad wants me to do. So,
Right.
But just invest, make money, increase my income, and invest. That's the simplest way I could put it. And increase my income. I want 6 figures. That's my goal within 5 years, to have consistently year over year 6 figures. Ideally, getting taxed as if I'm making less than that, obviously. But 6 figures worth of cash flow after taxes, and invest like crazy, and have a real estate. Those are the biggest goals that I have. And I mean, I have plans to make it happen, but it's hard to really explain those plans to other people.
Say it was just you and God on earth, and he told you your purpose, but we didn't know, what would you think your purpose is that he told you?
My purpose.
Here on earth.
My purpose would be him. I think he would say something on the lines of, you and your brother are meant to do great things, and if you guys really go out there and try to reach your full potential, not just like, all right, just like, try to get your job and just work your way through your life and die. No, if you guys try to reach your full potential and really get after it, you guys can make an impact on the world. Maybe not the level of some of these, like Jay-Z or I don't know, some other, Warren Buffett, whoever, but you guys can really make a big impact on a lot of people's life, and you guys can help a lot of people. I want to do philanthropy if I get rich enough. Even if I don't get rich enough, I do want to do philanthropy, stuff like that. My brother, he's big into helping people as well. So I think that he would say that your goal, your purpose in life is to really be a big change in a lot of people's life, and on average for the better. Some people are not going to like me, and I get that, and that's okay. Some people are going to think they like me based off that video, and then they're going to realize that they don't like me based off some of the things I do and say.
Right.
But overall, I think that he would say that, like, listen, you can do great things, and you can help a lot of people. When I started, getting more attention, the first thing I started thinking was, how can I transfer some of this attention to someone else and help them out as well?
Right. Dang. I like that. My brother, he said, because he always say, George, you keep buying these houses or whatever. Like, when is enough enough? When are you just gonna be like, all right? Because you evidently you buying properties to make money. So once you got enough, are you just gonna stop? And I was like, dang. But I enjoy the hunt. Like, finding a girl, like finding a property, finding a deal. Like, that's just inside me. So when I find a deal, like, even if I'm 70 years old, it'll still be exciting to me. After I find a deal, honestly, I'm like, all right, y'all finish it. I'm ready to move on to find another deal. That's just me. But
Yeah.
he broke it down to like, because I was like, okay, say we do have enough money. What we gonna do? And he was like, think about the people in the world the kids in the world that don't have opportunities. So like, say, like you said, but I want to stay in the United States to help. But just kids who are born into parents with mindsets, like you said, that their mindset is just so far gone that their child don't even have an opportunity to, to even get to see the world what it should be, and to have an opportunity in life. So I want to help kids that say a kid want to be, he love music, but he don't got no equipment. He ain't never been to a concert. I want to because once you see it, you almost believe it,
Yeah.
So that's, I think, like giving back, as far as giving just somebody an opportunity is like you said, you make an impact on the world.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I actually think that that's phenomenal, especially kids. Like, I think that, kids can get ruined real fast, like not ruined, but like they can end up in a lot worse situation. They just need that one person, and the fact that you could be that one person is phenomenal.
Right.
And kind of touching on what you said is like, when people say when is enough enough, I think that a lot of people really just genuinely don't get that sometimes just the act of building wealth, not necessarily actually the wealth itself, but just the act of building wealth is the fun in and of itself. That's the thing that's enjoyable. And obviously you're that person that enjoys building wealth. And a lot of people are not going to understand that. And I realize that about myself as well. Not a lot of people are going to understand why I like trying to build wealth. It's fun for me. It's obviously fun for you. Most people are not going to get that.
Right. Hey, it's a guy you need to check out on YouTube. Have you heard of Miles Monroe?
Come again?
Miles Monroe.
Nah.
Oh man, you gotta definitely check that out. Miles Monroe. He's like, he passed away, but he's kind of like what we need right now. He's a real leader. And like, for instance, he'll say, your job, like Uber and Lyft is your job, but your work is, like you just said, make an impact on other people. So when you go to work, you make an impact on other people, Like,
Yeah.
my job was the post office, but my work was giving people nice homes to rent or whatever, that was my work. So he talking about the difference between job and work. You can't never get fired from your work, because that's your purpose. But definitely check him out. Yeah, because I think I go to places and people work their jobs and you can tell they're not in tune with their job. They're just going through the motion, especially right now, like Walmart, people just hiring people because there's nobody hired. Like, so people just going through the motions and they don't even know their purpose. Like, they were like me, I enjoy it every single day. Like, I don't know if you hear Gary Vee, like he used to say like he loved Mondays. I used to hate Mondays when I had a job. Like, I used to hate Mondays, But now Monday's like, my wife, she be, oh, tomorrow's Monday, but I'm like, man, I'm ready to get back to the, I'm tired of partying now. Let's get back to the grind.
Let's get back
So
to the grind. Yeah.
yeah, because it's not really a work. I mean, it's not a job to me. It's exciting, Like this is working to me, and I'm talking about, building wealth or whatever.
Yeah. That I really like that concept. What is that saying that if you work something, you're doing something you love, you never work a day in your life, something like that?
It's true, man. It's true.
Yeah.
It is true. It's hard to explain it though until somebody do it, because in order to do it, you have to take a leap of faith and quit your job. Or don't have to quit your job, but you have to go do something that don't make money. Like real estate, when I first started, I wasn't really making money. Podcasts, I enjoy doing this, I do the YouTube, like you said, YouTube. You probably don't make money yet, but eventually it's gonna turn into, big revenue.
And that's one of the biggest things. It's kind of like when this situation started happening, a lot of people started hitting me up saying, "Oh, well, I make around the same income as you do," and it was really inspirational. I never thought I could inspire anybody, and it was just like, "Oh, this was really inspirational," and like, now I know with my income I could do it as well and all of that. And I had other people like you said, kids, 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds, whatever, hitting me up, just saying, "Oh, well, I'm in this situation. What can I do?" And people coming to me asking me for help. I mean, I'm not an all-knowing. I'm not, what do they call it, omniscient. But the fact that I can have the opportunity to at least push someone in the right direction. I might not be able to tell them exactly what they need to do. I might not be the most knowledgeable person in the world, but I can just push them in the right direction. To me, it felt good. It almost brought a tear to my eye, honestly. Just like being able to help. Like for example, I had a young guy that was like in the city, hit me up, and I was just like, the fact that I'm able to try to talk to him and try to help him through his situation, like that felt good to me. And the fact that I can make YouTube videos and maybe throw a little bit of ads in my videos and maybe make some money, and then actually go out there and just talk about these things that can help people, other people with a low income, that to me is just, that wouldn't be working. That would be low.
See, and you'll get paid for it, and then you'll be like, wait, I should get paid. I'll get paid for this. It feel weird. That's because you would do it for free,
Exactly.
But I was gonna say, because when you said, millions of people did. I did that. I worked a summer job, saved up $4,000 or $5,000. Soon as semester start, that by the time January get here, is at $2,000. Now I got to make from January to like what, May, April. You going home with $100 to start all over for the summer. That's like every college student do that. Oh, we're gonna go home to work for the summer. You can talk to people and let them know, like, it got to be a better way to, to get in debt, spend all your money. Once you get back, it got to be a better way to that,
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I kept doing Uber and Lyft, is because Uber had this program where if you get 3,000 rides, they'll pay for your college for you. And I was like, if I can get free college, I mean, I might give it a try.
Right.
I mean, I feel like I can build wealth with or without college degree. But if I can get a degree for free, I mean, I at least need to check it out and see if that's something that I need to do. At least give it a shot to some degree. So,
right.
That's just one way you can go about doing it.
Yeah. Trying to go because when I graduated, if you went to community college, it was kind of like you was a failure. But in reality, I think about it, I would have, especially if you got to get loans, the first 2 years would be a lot cheaper,
A lot cheaper, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So let's
following the conventional path is often more expensive.
Right. Okay. All right. So what is your version of the new American dream? The older version of American dream would be you will work for this tax company for the next 30 years. They give you a pension for like $200,000 and you'll be on your way to enjoy your life. What is your version of the American dream, the new American dream now?
This was a question they asked us a lot in elementary and middle school. And I always had a hard time answering this question, but I think that based off talking to immigrants and stuff like that, I think that really what the American dream seems to be, just overall, is that you can come to the United States and maybe you don't start off very wealthy, but you have economic mobility. You can build wealth over time. It is not fair. It's not going to be fair. You might start off a lot poorer than someone else. Someone might just have a rich granddad, and they might get, billions of dollars passed down to them. But at the end of the day, you can start off with very little and end up with above average or a lot. Or be financially free.
Right.
And that's kind of how I see what the American dream is.
Yep. It's the land of the free. Your opportunity.
What about you?
All right. You said it again?
I said, what about you?
Oh, my version of the New American Dream, I'm doing it. My old American Dream was I would have still been working at the post office, but I chose to buy rental properties to replace, basically that was the main part, replace what I was making. So they have enough properties to basically just travel the world and just help people, you know what I mean? And live off the rent, financial freedom. And do it. I want to ride ATV and have a farm and stuff like that, So that's me right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Let the people know where they can find you, at on as far as your social media and your YouTube channel.
Yeah, my YouTube channel is blackvito moneyology. Blackvito moneyology. That's money and then ology, like OLOGY. So Blackvito moneyology on YouTube. Instagram is blackvito_, and Vito is VITO. I've had people ask me that. That's the reason I said that. And on Instagram and Facebook, I kind of just keep that private.
Right.
But so Instagram and YouTube is pretty much the only place that you can find me. Twitter, I try to avoid Twitter like it plague.
On your YouTube, or it's moneyology, so you just talking about building, what are you talking about on there?
Yeah, I just talk about money. I define moneyology as the interdisciplinary study and practice of economics, finance, and accounting. Sorry, I need some water. So basically that's what I talk about, but I try to, but really at the end of the day, it's talk about investing, business, taxes, stuff like that.
Okay. I got to check it out. You said, all right. So man, thanks for coming on the show. We'll check out, I will put show notes to find his CNBC video and his YouTube and Instagram. You guys can go check them out. All righty. Peace.